Welcome to Community IT Innovators Voices of Community IT series. And my name is Carolyn. I will be interviewing Phil Oswald Christano today and learning all about your role at Community IT and what brought you to this career and any advice that you would have for others who are coming after you. So would you like to introduce yourself and tell me how many years you've been at Community IT?
Sure. My name is Phil Oswald Christano. I have been at Community IT almost 22 years. It's easy for me to remember because I started working at for this company in January of 2000. So whatever the year is, that's that's how long I've been.
It does make it easy.
Yes.
What are your responsibilities? What do you do?
So I would say primarily I'm one of the senior engineers in the project's team, and what that means, I help with looking at the technical design of the project, as well as looking at some potential gotchas, as well as preparing and completing the project itself. And then, of course, at the end, I update the documentation so that everybody in the company are aware of what's going on, and ready to support the client. And what I consider as my secondary responsibility, maybe less official, is I do like mentoring junior staff. Seeing them grow and helping them grow is a joy. And along with that, of course, I am an escalation point for other staff members.
Wow, that's so interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, how did you become a mentor? And is it formal or informal? How do people know that they can seek you out for mentorship?
So generally, I kind of tap on people individually as I see them. With new staff, I let them adjust and be comfortable. And then at some point, just like everybody else, we make it known that we're there to help if they have any questions. But at some point, as I see them growing and I see the potential, I would tap on them specifically, and oftentimes I ask, "Hey, have you ever thought about becoming engineer?" And then start conversation on what that looks like, as well as helping them see, what path are available in the company and how to get there, as well as being in the projects team. I have opportunity for people to shadow. So oftentimes I would say, hey, if you would like to see how I set up a server or do a cloud migration, or if you want to know anything about Azure, here's a project I'm working on, feel free to join me. And that provide the opportunity for people to learn. And as they mature even more, oftentimes I talk to their supervisor as well as my supervisor. Hey, can this person actually do the project with me? They will be driving. I will help plan the project, and then they will do the work, and I will be there with them to make sure that everything's good.
Wow, that's great to hear about. I guess professional development and technical learning within community IT, that there are paths to identify and help people grow in their skill set. That's really wonderful. Can you talk a little bit about in your own job, what do you do in a typical day? Like
Mm.
what does your day entail?
Well, typical day, I would actually say my typical day start with before bedtime, which is when I check what's going on tomorrow. Because I personally like, to be prepared, knowing what's ahead of me. So after I see what's happening, then I sort of like set in my mind what my day would be like. In the morning, typically I respond to like high priority emails, things that I need to reply right away. And I do use Microsoft Planner to help manage my projects, since usually I have multiple spinning plates with different priorities. So I have to know as I start my day, okay, what's the what's the most important one I need to take care of, how much time to put, and all that. And yeah, and then after that I just get to work.
What's the best part of your job? What's the part of your job that you enjoy the most?
Well, I would say it's the realization that I am contributing, to the society and humanity. That there's a strong sense of purpose. That it's not just migrating server or whatever the project is, but working with the nonprofit organizations. I get to really see what they're doing, not just on a website. But for example, the recent COP in Glasgow, knowing that there are clients that were presenting there and involved in that, or seeing clients that work around election, to make sure that people are voting, or clients that serve refugees, the homeless population, education sector, or working in food insecurity. It feels good to be a part of that, even if you're in the background. The other thing I like about my job is there's a respect for personal life. There's a certain amount of flexibility and boundary. I'm not working 24/7, and the boundary that I set is respected. Of course, I'm here for any emergency. Give me a call and I will respond.
I think that it makes it easier to respond in an emergency when everything is in an emergency.
Yeah.
When you
Correct.
have good systems in place so that the team can handle what they can handle, and they escalate what really needs to be escalated, and you can respond to the client in a way that's helpful, that doesn't take all of your energy all of the time.
Yeah.
And I've heard that from other community IT employees as well, that life work balance helps you be a better employee, and also of course helps you have a better life, because you're
Right.
not available 24 hours a day.
Yeah. And by having a better and less stressful life, the more you can give as well, right?
That's right.
And the other thing that I really enjoy is just the teamwork. People are really willing to help each other, and oftentimes go the extra mile to help. And to me, that's important, not just with clients, but also internally within the company.
Is there something about your job that that we probably don't know about what a senior engineer does, that you'd like to tell us?
Well, for me, within the context of senior engineer in the projects team, one thing that I really like is that my work is all project based, and what that means is there's a clear beginning, there's a clear end, and I have the chance to work with different clients because it's not just one client for a long time, but I get to move and get to know different clients, um, and get glimpses of what they actually do. Um, and then because what I do are all projects, I end up working with all the what I would consider the cutting edge technology, um, and and it's interesting as I talk to friends in the IT world outside the nonprofit circle. Sometimes I even discover that our clients are more on the cutting edge and than the rest of the world. Partly it's because we're tend to be smaller, um, and easier to manage. So that's really great. Um, and being in the position of mentor also means I get to see people grow, and like I mentioned earlier, that is just a joy for me.
That's great. That's great. Um, so I want to take you back 22 years and ask you a little bit about why, if you remember, why you applied to community IT. How did you come to community IT? And if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about your background and your story, because I know that's very interesting as well.
When I was uh, looking at community IT, back then I was really attracted by what the company does, and also who the company was at the time, and still is. Uh, Personally, I'm the kind of person that I just don't work solely for the money. The income is important, but the non-monetary benefits are very important to me as well. So things that I looked at, company culture, who the clients, relationship, again, internally as well as with the clients, sense of purpose, and things like that. And it's really interesting to hear what the founder of the company, hearing how he talked about the company at one point, and this story has been passed around, over and over. At one point, he I believe said to Johan, you're not working for an IT company, you're working for a people company. And that really makes me feel like I found my home, because sure, you can work for a company that pay you twice as much, but if you do not have that sense of purpose, and don't really enjoy and love what you're doing, what's the point? It's not sustainable.
I think I've heard that from other employees as well, that it feels like coming home or joining a family that you probably should have always been part of. But I know that for a lot of people who are pursuing a technology career, maybe nonprofit technology would not be the first thing that they would think of. So can you talk a little bit about, was there anything in high school or when you were considering the skills and the talents that you would need to have, like you said, a job that was about more than just having a job? Was there any advice you would give your former self or someone in high school or college now who's thinking about a technology career that could be fulfilling?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is really knowing yourself. because when you know yourself, then you know what you want, and then you know what to look for. And that is a journey that may not come easy for everyone, but it's an important one to have. So, as far as my background, I graduated from a small liberal arts college, Goshen College, and while in there, I learned, and they put a lot of emphasis in things like service and social justice and people, and that sort of like shaped who I am and helps me understand what I want and what I'm looking for in life. So sure, IT is something that what I'm doing, but there's a bigger thing. IT is just the tool, right? So for a lot of our clients, IT is what get them to do what they need to do. And in the same way, this job is also a small component in my life that gets me to do what I want to do. So that's probably like an unusual one as far as answer to your question, because to study life in order to
Or know
answer a
yourself.
career question. Exactly. That honestly, that's really what it is for me.
I think that it actually makes sense. My next question is about technology and techs, admin support. There are a lot of stereotypes, some of them fair, some of them unfair about it. And I guess what I'm hearing you say about your background and advice that you would give is that maybe if you're the type of technology person where you're thinking like, I'm going to get this certificate, I'm going to get this skill, and then I'm going to do this thing. And you're, and that's a maybe fair, unfair stereotype of people who are interested in technology, of being very, sequential, one thing, what you do the next thing. And maybe if you're in technology or interested in technology, but that isn't an extreme fit for you of being sequential like that. I'm hearing you also say with the mentoring and the technology professional development at Community IT, you can, if you have the right, personality, mindset, who you are, and you want to have this role helping the nonprofits, you can develop the skills as well, the technology skills. So you don't necessarily have to have taken every technology class in high school to be able to make a career of it. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, and that's an interesting one that you bring that up, because if you look through the history of this company, especially in the beginning, most of the people working in the company did not come from IT background. I was one of the few that actually had prior IT experience. I was working at the manufacturing company, basically running the IT there. But a lot of the people working at Community IT started as engineer or social worker. But the key here is, even though we are a people company, IT is what we do. So having the aptitude, having the ability to learn, and having the ability to troubleshoot, for example, the analytical thinking, that's all important. So if you have that, but do not have the experience or the certifications, I think you can do it. Yeah. But some people also think, okay, so if I get all the certifications, I will be successful. not always. That's not always the case. I think certifications are important, but there's a lot more beyond that to be successful. Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think I'm going to ask the next question about mentoring, because
Mhm.
I can hear that mentoring is really important to you, and that's a skill that you enjoy. But if you knew of someone at another company who was maybe not feeling as fulfilled or supported in a technology role, um, do you have advice for them if they can't come up and ask you, Phil, to be their mentor? Where else do you go for support and for professional advancement and development?
Um, so that's I think that will depend a lot on where they are and their community. But again, like first and foremost, I would invite that person to sort of analyze first, what is it really that make you unhappy, right? Is it because of the company policy, company culture? So it's not necessarily the IT, right, or the IT job, but the bigger thing around the job. And do you know what you want? Those are all very, very important. And I think first thing you need to understand, what is it that you're dealing with? But I think once you know what you need, there are different things you can plug into. For example, especially pre-pandemic, there are plenty of like user groups online, or even in cities there are some meetup group for networking. Um, if you're in the nonprofit scene, going to conferences like N10 conference is a great way to network and connect with people. That will help a lot. Um, and yeah, like networking, I think is very important.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But so you said that you are one of the people who came to community IT from another technology job, another IT job. And I'm wondering, for other people who might be making that jump, did you have any doubts about joining a company like community IT, where, as you said, you'd be serving nonprofits and you have this work-life balance? Um, did you have any doubts about doing that, the wisdom of doing that for your career? And how would you answer that if other people have doubts about that, thinking about applying?
Yeah. So for me, again, because of my background and who I am, there is no doubt. I mean, to some degree, starting a new job, there's always a new doubt. Starting a new life in different city. I moved from a small town in Indiana to DC. There's always a doubt. And working for a company that serves nonprofits also means financially there's some doubt, right? So there's always that, but I think in terms of how long I would last in the company, there's no way of knowing whatsoever, and I'm the kind of person that would that tend to take it like a day at a time. So as far as I can sense that this is home and all my basic needs are satisfied, I will just continue on,
Right.
Yeah,
No more
yeah,
doubts.
right.
I guess that's a good segue to my last question, which is, So you know very well and have been with community IT for quite a long time. When you meet someone new and they ask you, what does community IT do? What do you tell them?
So I used to plan this and try to come up with a catchy answer. But these days, honestly, I answer just the most practical, or give the most practical answer, that we serve nonprofit organizations. We're we do IT and we serve nonprofit organizations, and part of the reason is because as you talk to people, sometimes you realize that they're not really interested to dig deep. So I give that short answer as a way to sort of sense, okay, are you wanting to talk more, or are you just wanting a short answer? But if people I talk to are interested in having a deeper conversation, then I definitely will, and talk about how we are different. Sure, we're an MSP, but we're not just any MSP. We work with we're in IT, but it's not just IT. And hopefully they will understand better what that means.
That sounds good. I am just thank you so much for doing this interview with me today. I really appreciate your answers and just being able to talk about being at community IT for 22 years.
Sure, yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.